Hi, this is Stephanie. Welcome to Story Concierge. I'm really happy that you're here today. Have you ever been told that your dialogue is flat or boring, or the worst thing that you can hear is that all your characters sound the same? Well, watch this video. I am going to give you 5 tips to help you make your dialogue strong. For the best storytelling and writing advice, subscribe to my channel. I post a new video every week, and hit the bell so you will get notified every time I post. Okay, let's get started. How to write strong dialogue. If you're constantly being told that your dialogue is flat, it feels like the story isn't going anywhere, the things that they say don't make sense, or you're repeating conversations, this training is going to help. So this is a little bit slanted towards novelists in this particular video, but screenwriters and TV writers and playwrights, you can still benefit from the tips. So watch till the end. I am sharing secrets with you to help you break those bad habits so you will never hear those words again, and agents, editors, producers, and directors will be really excited when your writing comes across their desk. Really want your dialogue to create characters that are unique, lively, exciting, and everything that they say moves the story forward and helps you learn about the character. First of all, just let me explain a little bit about dialogue and why it's so important. Everything in every story that we tell is about character, and characters are shown in lots of different ways. The clothes that they're wearing, the way that they stand, their age, their hair color, their race, everything. That tells us or shows us who they are, especially when we're watching television and or films. But in writing a novel, it's a little bit harder, and you're really not going to want to have those long pages that say like, well, this is Stephanie, and she's this age, and she's wearing a maroon shirt, and she's got long hair, because it's really, really boring. Dialogue is so important. In my opinion, it is one of the strongest tools that writers have at their disposal. Now, if you are a TV writer or a screenwriter, obviously dialogue is your main tool, and with snippets of the action, but really most television shows and most movies are dialogue driven. There are the exceptions like Castaway, but for the most part, really dialogue is where your entire script or TV show is. Some great example of characters from television are Paris Geller from the Gilmore Girls, and I've chosen that show and that character because I know that you can easily find reference on YouTube, and the Gilmore Girls is currently on Netflix, and most everybody has Netflix. What I would like you to do is go watch some of just snippets of the way Paris talks, because the thing that is so great about Paris Geller, the character is so well developed that every single thing that she says is in her own best interest, because that's who she is. She doesn't dilly-dally, she doesn't make small talk. Everything when she is in high school is about getting into Harvard, and she's very competitive. So everything that she says to Rory, everything that she says to her teachers, everything is about that. It's so well done. I honestly believe that she's one of the best characters ever written in television, excuse me. And another person from that same show is Lorelai Gilmore. Lorelai Gilmore has a very specific way of talking. She speaks very fast. She loves coffee, so she often mentions coffee in her little speeches to Luke or even to Rory. She uses a lot of pop culture reference. It's just who she is. And again, if you take her and look at her and Paris, how completely different they are, and it's a lot more than just the age difference. And then another character from the Gilmore Girls, you can tell I'm a huge fan of that show, but another character is Emily Gilmore, the mom in that show. Well, Lorelai's mom, so the grandmother of Rory. She is amazing. Now, she is one of these daughters of the American Revolution women. She is very uptight. She's very proper. She would never say anything that is slang. She doesn't curse at all. She doesn't talk fast. Everything she says is very well thought out. So really great writing on that show. I highly recommend that you go to YouTube or Netflix and watch it. I'm going to post some links in the description because that show is amazing, and I really want you to see what I am talking about. In films, pretty much watch any Quentin Tarantino film. Pulp Fiction is probably my favorite in terms of dialogue and the characters. If you really watch the way that they speak, I know they curse a lot, so if you're offended by cursing, then probably Pulp Fiction is not the film for you. But if you're not offended by cursing, then I definitely recommend watching it, because the dialogue is so strong and so character driven. Like, everything that they say really tells us little hints about who they are, and it helps us see sort of how they might act in certain situations. And also, anything written by the Cohen Brothers is also something that I think is very, very strong when it comes to dialogue. For novelists, so I'm currently writing young adult, so I am giving you 2 young adult books that I absolutely love the writing, love the dialogue. One of them is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Augustus Waters and Hazel Grace Lancaster both have very specific ways of speaking that is very unique and very great as tools for you as a writer. And also the other one that I really like is Standoff by Andrew Smith. This is the sequel to Winger, and Ryan Dean West also has very specific ways of speaking. I was going to read you passages from both, but I think that it's better if I, again, don't waste time on the video reading from novels, because also I feel like that gets a little bit boring, but both of those characters are really good. Ryan Dean West, when he first meets his roommate, he speaks very short. He doesn't want to have anything to do with Sam Abernathy is the name of the other character. He doesn't want to talk to him. He is closed off based on what happened in the first book. Andrew Smith is showing the reader by the word choices that he has the main character say that that character is closed off. That character is keeping people at bay. He's protecting himself. He doesn't want to get close to anybody because he does not want to be hurt again. If you read Winger, you know that how hurt Ryan Dean West is by the end of it. Now, in The Fault in Our Stars, which I brought up first, Augustus Waters, everything that he says sort of foreshadows what's going to happen to him at the end. The very first thing that we hear him say is, the only way from here is to go up, my friend. I'm doing great. I am cancer free and everything is great. And then he says that he's afraid of oblivion. He's afraid that when he dies, his life isn't going to matter. That's very telling to who he is. And then if you keep reading in that first meet cute, Hazel Grace, she doesn't tell him off, but she's kind of like, this is ridiculous. She calls him out on it. It's really important. The way that he speaks during the entire book really shows us who he is. There's also a movie of The Fault in Our Stars, and it's very good and it's very close to the book. But if you're writing a novel, I suggest that you read the novel, because then you also can see the words and see how it's laid out. Tip number 1 is to use your character's personality to define the things that they might say. Think about their personality traits. Are they a neat freak? Are they uptight? Are they sort of spacey? Are they happy all the time? Are they angry all the time? Think about some older comedy shows that are really good, like Seinfeld, like George Costanza. The world is out to get George Costanza. So all the time he's like, oh my God, what is wrong with the world? What is wrong with these people? He plays the victim all the time in almost every episode, and it's very well crafted, as well as Elaine. Elaine comes in and she talks about things that happens in a very specific way. I absolutely love Seinfeld. I think it's a really good show. Friends is another example of an older show, but has very specific dialogue to each character. There's 6 of them. They're all very different. Monica Geller is a neat freak and a perfectionist. Rachel is a little bit of a fashionista, and she was the popular girl. And so the things that she says now are based on the things that happened to her in high school. Ross is still kind of a geek. He works for a museum. He's a paleontologist. Joey's all about picking up women, but he's not awful. That's just who he is. So a lot of his dialogue is surrounded about that, and he makes comments about that stuff. Chandler makes jokes all the time to cover up his insecurity, and the fact that his parents divorced when he was young really affected him, so he doesn't really trust relationships. So a lot of what he says comes from those misbeliefs. And Phoebe is one of the best characters. She is flaky. She doesn't care. She makes absurd statements. Like one time Ross is talking about gravity, and she's like, well, I think it's not so much that we're being pulled down, but we're being pushed, because that's Phoebe's take on the world. It's very unique. It's a very good show to watch. Some other ones, obviously I mentioned the Gilmore Girls. NYPD Blue, if you like cop shows, that one specifically I think has amazing dialogue. Some other drama, Grey's Anatomy is really good. Everything in the Shondaland universe has very specific ways of talking, and even though the shows have very strong voice to that particular showrunner, and I'll talk about voice in another video, but each of the characters speak in their own unique way. If you really watch and study the way that they speak, you will see how different they are. The Big Bang Theory is, back to comedy, The Big Bang Theory is a great show for examples of character. Like Friends, the characters are all so very different that they all have in every scene different objectives that they want, so they speak very differently, and also based on how they grew up and the way they were treated, they speak differently. So it's a really good tool to use. So that is tip number one, is use their personality to get the real and the most authentic dialogue for your character. Tip number two is, especially if you're writing novels, is to keep the dialogue short. Now, there are tons of examples in television, in movies, and in plays, stage plays, where characters have really long monologues that are really good. But for the most part, keeping it short is better, because what happens when people try to write long monologues, they tend up using a lot of filler words like and. I'm even doing it in this video, so that's why you'll see a lot of like cuts where it looks like because I'm actually cutting those things out, because it slows it down and it's going to pull you out, and then you're not going to want to watch any longer. It's the same thing when you're watching a television show. If the character is going on too long, you're not really going to stay invested for the most part. And especially when you're reading a novel, sometimes those super long passages of dialogue or super long exchanges between two characters will pull you out of the story. It'll start feeling like you're reading a play and you're not into a novel. So my suggestion is, my tip number two is really just keep it short and only say what you need to say to move the story forward. Character needs to get something from the kitchen. Unless it's really important to the story, I really don't need him describing everything about the kitchen or even the food. He might just grab a soda and go, hey, cool, and leave, depending on what he's going to do. So you really need to think about it and be very thoughtful in everything you put down. I'm going to sidebar for 2 seconds and say that if you're writing a first draft, my advice on first drafts, and I'm also doing videos on that as soon as they're done, I will link to this video. So come back to it and check, or just, if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll see it. But it's fine to just get it out, get it on the paper. But when you are revising, come back and really pay attention to every single word that your characters say, because it is so important. I'm going to take a quick break and ask you to comment below, what is some of the feedback that you're getting on your dialogue? For example, have you been told that the characters sound the same? I am writing, my current young adult novel has 2 points of view. Now, in my head, they're completely different characters, but I have gotten some feedback from critiques that I've done at conferences that the characters sound too much alike. It's very hard for me to see because I'm the writer, and in my heads they're so completely different. But what I've done is I've gone back in and really looked at that dialogue, and I did notice in revision that some of the things that the two main characters say are very similar. What are things that you're getting feedback on? Post below and maybe we can help each other. Let's start a conversation about it. Let's move on. Tip number 3. Every editor out there is going to hate me for saying this, and agents too, I apologize, but forget proper grammar. One of the biggest mistakes that I see new writers making is they try to write their dialogue in proper grammar. Now, I'm not saying to not use correct punctuation in your actual text, but don't have your character speak in proper grammar, because you know what? None of us ever speak that way. Get rid of all the perfect grammar. I mean, don't use a ton of slang, but just make it more real. Make it the way that we speak. So you want to be real, but not too real, which brings me to tip number 4. Be real, but not too real. Don't say things like, you know, if you're writing in the novel, don't write the words, well, I don't know, like, so I went to the store and, because that is boring. Even though that's how we speak. So for TV and film writing, if that's how your character speaks and it's part of their personality trait that they're like, oh my God, blah, 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 and I did this and like, blah, blah, that's fine. But even then, let me tell you, that character is going to get annoying and people are going to stop watching, or the producers, directors, agents are not going to push your film forward. Be real, but not too real. Tip number 5 is to avoid dialogue tags. Now, this is something that all writers do, especially new writers. I see this so much. When I was doing screenwriting contests and I was judging them, I saw it so much that it was actually distracting. So what I mean by that is it would say Marcia, and then in parentheses it would say laughs uproariously. Why do I need that? And then there would be the words. Or it would say Steve, and then in parentheses it would say yelling or angrily or sarcastically. Here's the thing. If you're writing a screenplay or a stage play or a TV show, don't do that. It's one of the things that one of my favorite coaches for comedy writing, Steve Kaplan, always says. Actors will do what you tell them to do because they're actors and they're trying to do that. And I was an actress for a long time, and I can tell you that if I read a script and it said that I had to say something quietly or sarcastically, I would want to do that because I want to please the writer. I want to please the director. And the thing is, you really don't need to do that. What the words that the character is saying will inform the actor on how they need to do it. And you know what? They might even bring something to the table that you weren't expecting. There's a really funny episode of Friends where Joey is auditioning for a part on All My Children. Now, he actually tells a student of his, an acting student of his, to play the part of the boxer Gay because he's trying to sabotage him. So there is a point to this. And the point is, he loses the part to that guy because the casting director actually liked the gay character that this other kid created. So my point is, I know that sounds weird, I'm using Friends in a real life reference, but my point is that, especially for TV shows and stage plays and films, don't write those dialogue tags because you never know what the actor might bring to it, and it might surprise you, and it might actually make the story stronger and or the character stronger. Now, when we're talking about novels, really, if you don't know what to say, just say said. It's fine to say said. I know you think that it might be boring. Jan said, let's go to the mall. Steve said, okay, I'd love to go to the mall with you. Marcia said, wait, what about me? Okay. That's going to be too much if you have all those saids in there, and there's things that you can do that will replace that, like maybe it'll be Marcia picked up a cup. Really? You want to go to the mall again? Slam down the drink and put it in the fridge. Ugh, I've already been 3 times this week or something. I don't know. I'm just making that up off the top of my head, so it's not quite brilliant, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's okay to do that, but you really, really don't want to have, you know, the same thing. You don't want to say, Ryan smiled carefully as he looked into her eyes and laughed. Hey babe, whatever, I don't know. You know, but I'm just saying, like, there's so many things like that that I read, and what it does is it pulls the reader out of the story, and it tells you how you're supposed to feel. It's considered amateur. I'm gonna find a video, and I'm going to put a link in the comments that talks about this more because it's so important. And in the dialogue class that I will have online soon, I talk about this a lot, and there's actually modules to help you break this because it's a habit that we all do. And again, I think it's fine to do that kind of thing in a first draft, but get that out of there. So go through your novel and look through it and pull it out. Find another way than to use those dialogue tags. Look at books that you have in your house and really focus on the dialogue and how the author has tackled that, because pretty much I can guarantee, especially the well-written books, the better ones, you're not going to have a lot of tags in there. I hope that those 5 tips make sense and they help you. I'm going to give you, stay till the end of the video, I'm going to give you one more dialogue tip that I find really useful and some exercises. But first, I want to invite you to join. There's a Facebook group that I've created called Story Concierge, and it's for writers of all genres, even nonfiction, even though I'm focused on fiction, whatever you write. If you'd like to join Story Concierge, the link is in the description, and we would love to have you there. And also, I invite you again to subscribe and check out my website because I do have courses coming up this fall. I'm very excited about it, and I really want you to join them and be part of it. It's something I've been teaching for more than 10 years. Okay, here's the bonus tip for staying till the end of the video. A really great way to improve your dialogue is to listen to conversations. Go to the mall, go to the store, go to the theme parks, go to the coffee shop, at restaurants, when you're hanging out with your family. Really listen to the way that they speak, because you'll find that even in the people in your everyday life, they speak differently because of who they are, if that makes sense. I speak very fast. I use a lot of pop culture references. I complain about the heat a lot. I don't like to be hot. I hate summer. I probably find a way to say that I hate summer every single day during the summer, as annoying as that is to people around me. So you can find it anywhere. But really, really, it's like tip number 6 is to really study real dialogue from real people, and it'll make you stronger. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group and seeing you next week. Happy writing!